Hey everybody, and welcome to another update on the carnivore lifestyle. You are going to love this new study that just came out, and it was published in Nature Medicine. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Present. So this is the abstract. And so this was published literally in October 10th, 2022. So it just came out, and it's a really important one because it was published in a very prestigious journal, Nature Medicine, and it was a systemic review. A systemic review is pretty high up there, similar to a meta-analysis, and I'll explain the difference in a second. But basically, it concluded that there is no evidence or very, very weak evidence to link unprocessed red meat consumption with a multitude of chronic diseases. So it's a systemic review. What's a systemic review? It's similar to a meta-analysis, only without having all the statistics of all the studies that they included pulled together. So a meta-analysis is the gold standard type of a study, but a meta-analysis can be a subtype of a systemic review. So a meta-analysis is a systemic review where you can actually get all of the data of all the studies that you're looking at and pull them all together and run the stats on all of them as if it's one large sample size and come up with a number. But with a systemic review, sometimes you can't use all the numbers together as a pooled sample. So you just list all the studies that you've included in a table, in a graph, and what those results were. And that's what they did. So the study found weak evidence for a link between unprocessed meat consumption and risk for colorectal cancer, breast cancer, type 2 diabetes, and ischemic heart disease. And the study found no link at all between eating red meat, unprocessed red meat, and stroke. And so why did the study find very, very weak evidence for red meat consumption in any form of chronic disease or cancers? Because the majority of nutrition studies are either observational, which means it's correlational or epidemiological in nature, or they're just pitting junk food eaters with whole food eaters and plant-based eaters that are generally a healthier bunch. So because of this kind of bias on the part of researchers, and because it's so difficult to conduct randomized controlled trials, which are another form of a gold standard type of study, because it's hard to make people eat a certain diet for a very, very long time and follow them for that time to see what happens. For that reason, we are relegated to using a lot of observational or epidemiological studies in nature. And so that does not allow us to prove causation. It only allows us to look at correlation, right? And so what they're doing is they're using those observational studies, and they're studying the wrong groups of people. They're studying junk food eaters against the whole food plant-based eaters that are generally also working out and taking care of their health. And this is why the vast majority of nutrition science as it stands is not really a science. It's heavily biased, and you can't really draw any strong conclusions from it. And because of that, it's impossible really to tease out the effect of meat consumption on diseases from these two comparison groups, right? Not only that, but nutrition studies for the most part are using an inherently flawed questionnaire called the food frequency questionnaire, which I talked about previously before, which relies heavily on memory. And we know how unreliable memory can be in our subjects that we're studying. And Dr. Stephen Novella, who's a Yale neurologist and a president of the New England Skeptical Society, commented on the study by saying, and I quote, "The evidence for a direct vascular or health risk from eating meat regularly is very low, to the point that there is probably no risk." and I agree. Check out my Instagram, my website, DrZaldivar.com for coaching packages. And this is the reference here, the study. And this is the part where the doctor is writing an article about the whole topic of meat consumption. Everything is also linked in the description box below as usual. So I hope this was helpful. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that little notification bell icon, and I will see you in the next one.